Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode, and we're going to talk about some scaling today. Commonly, I'm asked to scale things up or down. In today's case, we're talking about scaling up. As you can see, this one's been scaled to 200%, so it's a bit bigger than the original. Of course, you could make it fit to the bed, which is pretty big, but we don't need that. We just want to double it. So 200%. We'll double this in size. And I've left the original file that was already supported, so I can make some comparisons when I'm done. Now, besides the fact that the bar length, tip, and diameter are going to be different for the bigger guy versus the smaller guy, the supporting overall is going to look real similar. So let's get into it. Let's see how this works out. Now we're just going to demonstrate how the supporting technique is going to virtually be the same for the small and the big, but we're going to demonstrate how just kind of applying the same technique onto a larger figure, even if you don't hollow it, you can achieve good results, minimal defects on the model as well. Sometimes orientation can be tricky, and regardless, just because of the size of the part, there's no real good way to orient it, and it's always going to get a little bit of damage on one side or the other. So for those pieces, just be careful when you're removing supports. There are a lot of islands on this particular piece due to its cape and all the little tiny bits of designs. So I sped this one up for you. You're welcome. So it's not as boring to sit here and watch me go through each one. Now we're going to do a mix of supporting and island supporting all at once. So you're going to see me kind of go through each part of the model and add supports, and then kind of go back and add different weight and stuff like that to the supports to change them up. I don't use one consistent weight throughout this entire build. This is actually probably one of the most modular ones I've worked on in a while because of the fact that he's big, he's got a lot of detail on him. I really want to make sure that that detail comes out good. And in order to do that, you really need to be cautious about where you place the big supports, where you place the little supports, where you use your mini supports and things like that. This is a sculpt from the rotting one from Crippled God Foundry, and again, this is a scaled up version of it. So this is just a particular piece that I really happen to like, and I decided to use it for the scale up project for this particular video. I do get asked quite a lot to scale figures up or down, and so, you know, it's a common thing, and I figured I'd show you guys how we handle the supporting process, very similar to how we'd handle it for a miniature. But you notice most of the supports I'm using are actually in my mediums rather than my lights, because he's double the size. He's going to need a lot more weight pulling him back down to the plate rather than to the FEP. So the supports need to be a little thicker. Of course, in places I want to make sure we maintain that light support because we don't want to break off things like fingers and the fine detail. We don't want to really damage, and so avoid clustering big supports in those areas, so I avoid using a lot of mediums in those tight little spots. Now the program actually had me going for a minute there because I didn't actually have any islands left to support on the particular piece. However, the hidden object did. And so I actually had to show it and then kind of get rid of the other one in order to let me focus on where the heck these islands were. And it still was having like a weird funky time with it, as you can see. The camera couldn't quite focus on it. It didn't quite know what to do with itself. I don't know why. I think maybe it was just confused between the two pieces of geometry being the same and just one being a scaled up version of the other. I don't know, but it was being really weird about the islands because the detection was like throwing it off. The camera was like, it's over here. I'm like, no, it's not. It's somewhere else. But the program was throwing that cautionary error at the end, and I was like, all right, let me just get rid of this. So I went back and I found the islands on the other piece and I fixed it. There we go. Now that should get rid of the error. And now I can safely export the file without that little red message at the top. I don't know why that just bothers me. I know the object is hidden. It's not really going to matter at the end of the day. I just like to make sure it doesn't say it. Because this is my print's going to fail. How do I know that? My prints hardly ever fail. Occasionally I get some weird, chaotic things happen. But I think that's normal in this business. And there we pretty much have it. He's done exporting. Lychee takes its sweet time doing that sometimes. And we're ready to go. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed another episode. As always, hope you learned something. If you did, comment, like, subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell notification icon if you want to get notified every time we have a new episode.